Hey, Internet, I'm back. I missed yesterday. Did you guys miss me yesterday? I've been trying to hustle and grind and get videos for you guys every day, because I know for the channels I really like, the more videos the better. So, what do we got today? We have the Aero by Aesthetics. So first things first, gentleman by the name of Phildon reached out to me. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. Asked me if I wanted to review this. I said sure. Partially because, say, it's more content for the channel, but two, he actually showed it to me, and I really liked the design aesthetics of this, funnily enough. But they also had a really decent, pretty good quality website set up. On top of that, it's fulfilled in the US by Amazon, which I'm not seeing any real spinners, what I would call of this quality. We'll get into that on Amazon. So in Europe, they fulfill it themselves. I'm not sure where else they ship. I don't know if they do worldwide shipping or just in Europe. Slight difference there as well. We'll start opening this up. But yeah, so as far as Europe goes, they fulfill it themselves, and in the US, again, Amazon. So it's kind of nice that we've got what I would call kind of a nice, good quality spinner on Amazon. It doesn't feel like an Amazon spinner. I haven't gotten a ton, but the ones I've gotten aren't that great. And actually, I know I just said I was going to open it up. But as far as tins go, this is a pretty decent tin, all things considered. So just it's got a nice little logo here, nice look. So I'm happy with that. Inside, we'll find two little cards. One's a warranty card, which will be your order number, is essentially your warranty. So pretty much say, hey, we'll take care of everything except for the bearing. Pretty standard affair. One thing they mention on this, so this is, hey, a little bit of info about them, where to find them. So we'll drop that stuff in the comments below. They mentioned a couple things. Now, since the bearing isn't really covered, I don't want to completely disagree with them here. They mention only using iso alcohol. I shouldn't say always, but I've most recently found much better results with soap and water. And they don't cover the bearing anyway, so if you dry it with water and soap and you ruin it, well, it's on you. But I can't imagine I'd have any issue with it. The bearing doesn't look that different from other bearings. So what do we get in the tin? We get two bearings. We just get this out of the way. This is the same bearing, so it's two bearings. They're 10-ball hybrid ceramics, and they're pretty nice bearings. They're pretty good. So first up, little up and down wobble, pretty normal. Maybe a little bit more than what I would expect, but what I've actually come to find, especially with hybrid ceramics, when you have a little bit more, you generally have better spin times for what it's worth. So we'll see if that's the case here when we get into that. So aesthetically, for the Aero, it's pretty cool. I like what's going on here. So one thing I kind of appreciate, and this seems like a subtle attention to detail, but around the bearing retention ring, it dips in a little bit lower. Let's take the buttons off here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Jeez Louise. All right. It kind of raises up just a little bit. So the way this is seated in there looks really nice. It's the same essentially style vertical press. It just feels like a better quality one in terms of the type of machining that was going on here and the quality of the threads. But I like this little swoop where it swoops back up. So you kind of got a little bit of a dish. Now the button covers most of it, so you don't really see it unless you look at it from the side. It's got a really decent brushed finish. All these edges are more rounded than they are chamfered, and I don't know if that's a process of just how heavily it's brushed, softening everything up, but not a hot spot to be found on this guy. Really, really nice. Really nice brush finish. Pretty good consistency too. Like, they're hitting the brush from this angle here, and then obviously they're hitting it side to side in the middle. But if you look at the curves there's not much overlap. So maybe now's a good time to mention price on Amazon. This is a $46 spinner, Amazon Prime. In the UK, I believe it's sold out. Sorry, UK. In the EU, in Europe, I believe it's sold out. So, not much curved other than this little swoop down here. Everything else is pretty flat sides. You know, flat chamfers. But again, brushed and rounded really well, and feels nice. And everything almost feels rounded. So, one thing as well I kind of found that I appreciate. I don't think this was designed intentionally, so don't scratch your buttons. But these buttons have a hard, flat edge on the bottom, which is actually perfect for trying to remove the bearing. So I can actually use that to, just because I don't have a bearing tool with me here, to take the bearing off. So I probably shouldn't be doing this, but well, I tightened it up really hard with them. So, but you don't really ruin the button doing that. So at least what I found. Again, that's probably not something that they're going to recommend. So don't do that. Really nice threads as well. I haven't had too much of an issue with these coming loose. So decent buttons. So let's put these back on and do some spinning. 4 minutes in, we haven't spun it. How's it spin? Ooh, spins nice. So we're getting, it's kind of obvious, I don't know if you can tell, it's a cloudy, rainy day, so we're not getting great warping. I'm going to cut in a video, let's just say I'm going to cut it in here in 2 seconds just to show you guys the effect that this looks like kind of spinning inside, because it's got kind of a pretty cool spin character when it's not warping. So we'll put that in right here. All right, what'd you guys think of that? Pretty nice. Just a quick little video just to show you what it looks like spinning, because these curves and angles kind of make this cool little dish effect that I kind of like. So yeah, really good. So it's got a lot of weight, a lot of its mass on the outside. I should say it is 73 grams, about 2 1/3 inches wide. So it's a little, not too long. It's a pretty good, it's a decent sized spinner for a bar. Probably a little longer than what you might expect looking at it. A lot of its weight is centered on the outside. I mean, it feels nice to spin. So in particular, I love this chamfer right here, because what that does is it keeps a lot of the mass here. But when you feel it, much like when I talked about the Spider, with that angles that come down here, it just gives good pulls and good flicks. So you really can get a good pull and a good flick on this guy. Feels good. So really good for that. Pushes really well too, because all the weight's out there and you got this little hook, your finger hooks right before all the mass on the outside of the arms. So you can really get some good flicks and good pulls going. It's long, big enough for a 2-fingered preloaded flick, which is nice. I appreciate that. I dig that. Yeah, good fidgetability. Feels soft, feels quality. It's got a real nice smooth spin to it. There's a smoothness to this guy. And butter's the term that I want to use, but I wouldn't use it like I would with like a Chakra or a Trillium. It's not that kind of smooth. The bearing is very, very smooth, and the spinner is very well balanced. So it's off a little bit. That's probably going to make it look worse than it is, because there's so much of the masses on the outside. But when you spin it and do a finger spin, see if I can get that. Again, it's kind of weird the way I have to hold my hand for the camera, and most of that shaking that you're seeing is just my hand. Yeah, we'll get a little warp going with it as well. So watch her span. Watch her span. So it feels nice. It's got an interesting smoothness to it. And again, all that weight on the outside gives you surprisingly not as much bar judder, bar wobble as I would expect. I should call it judder. Technically it's judder. It's not wobble. Wobble would be a wobble. It would be like that, really wobbling, because it's off balance, which it's not really that off balanced. Yeah. Probably now's as good a time as any to talk about spin time. So I got it last night. I should say this is probably going to be more of a review than a first look, but I have only had it for about 24 hours, so we are going to call it a first look. But I got it spun it probably between the 24 hours that I've had this. I probably spent 2-3 hours spinning this thing. I've actually really enjoyed spinning this. And then, so this morning I ran a spin time on it, and on a table spin, really good spin times. We got 6:26, 6 minutes, 26 seconds on a table spin with the bearing that came in it. I swapped out for the other bearing in the tin, and I might not have gotten a good pull the first spin, because we only got 4 minutes. But I kind of spun it at my desk for a little bit. Felt smooth, felt fine. And then I did another spin test about an hour later, probably about 20 minutes worth of actual fidgeting with it. And we got 5:40, so we got real close to that 6-minute mark again. So I put the original bearing back in just because I was the one that had the slightly better spin time. Did a vertical spin test, 8 minutes and 26 seconds. So we almost broke 9 minutes on a vertical spin on a 73-gram stainless steel spinner. So that's pretty good for a bar spinner. So satisfies all the spin time needs. Now, when they do fulfill from Europe, they fulfill it again themselves or himself. I'm not sure if it's just one guy or a couple guys. But they clean all the bearings and make sure they're in really good shape. The way it's sent out from Amazon, they can't really do that. So, but in most cases where I see 2 bearings come in, I find that, one, it's kind of a nice touch, but more, 2, it's mostly just to, if you have an issue with one of the bearings, you can switch it out. So, the only thing, I've got 2 little things that aren't, you know, potentially issues with this guy. I find with like a standard flat grip, especially a flat grip, because of this swoop down and then back up, you've got plenty of grip where your finger doesn't rub. It's very hard to get my fingers to rub on the side of this spinner while I'm holding it, which is a really nice thing. With a pinch grip, for the most part, it feels pretty good. It's got this little extra dish in the middle that grabs pretty good, but it is a pretty smooth stainless steel. So if you've got those super smooth fingers, you know what I'm talking about, like just, you know, soaped and watered and cleaned, and then had enough time to sufficiently like be completely dry and not have any moisture left in your fingers, they do slide around a little bit on a pinch grip. It doesn't, this little extra dish here doesn't really grab. So I think my only feedback on the buttons is, you know, if that could actually be like a bit more of a dish. But that said, it still offers plenty of grip on 90% of the circumstances. So I just noticed this morning on my drive into work after having a shower this morning that it was a little slippery with my kind of standard pinch grip. But the flat grip is good, and again, the flat grip works because your finger doesn't rub into it. Like, I really got to look at it. I got to get my really awkward thumb way up in there to hit it, and even still, like, look at the pressure I'm applying, and I'm just barely touching it. So the other is this logo here on the side. Now, I actually think that logo is pretty cool, and I don't mind it that much, but you get the feel of it. Some people might not like with that laser engrave on the side. I do appreciate that they didn't put a kind of a tacky laser engraving on the button, although that might help with grip. Something about those Amazon spinners where those logos on the buttons just turns me off. I don't know. But on the side here, it's actually not that bad. Gives a little bit of interesting grip. But you don't really feel it. I can't really tell if I got the side with that or not. But another thing that I've liked with this, where you really do feel this, is these buttons are just about the perfect size of the spinner, right? So if I'm using this actually works like a really cool worry stone. And in fact, it's got kind of a cool effect where if you're pushing kind of hard, you roll the button a little bit, and it kind of feels nice. And it's actually even kind of nice with the laser engraving, just to rub and get a little texture to kind of give you those options. And you guys have heard me talk about brush finishes and satin finishes and media blasted. I'm not a huge fan of those. This is a really smooth brush finish. Like, I can hardly tell and feel that that's brushed. It really does feel more like a, I wouldn't say polished, but it doesn't feel like a very aggressive brushing. It's a very fine brush. It feels really nice, and I think I'm going to be able to polish this up pretty nice and pretty easily. Yes, I'm definitely going to polish this guy up. So I do really appreciate this guy. I like the look of it, and I think polished, I'm going to really, really like this guy. So we're going to do that to this bad boy. So I think that's about all I really wanted to say on this guy. So I'm going to link down to their website, link to Amazon, their Facebook, all that stuff. Seem to be some cool chaps over there. From the limited interactions I've had with them, but I think this is definitely a worthwhile spinner to kind of get in front of you guys and let you guys decide if it's something you like. But if you're asking me, this is definitely one I can recommend. It's got a good fidgetability, definitely feels worth its weight and then some. Just a real high quality spinner on Amazon for a good price that you just don't see. You don't see Amazon spinners that I would consider of this quality. Everything on Amazon that I've had has all had a similar feel to it, and this stands apart. So really dig it. Really appreciate what you guys got. So I'm glad you guys had a decent spinner, so I didn't have to give you a bunch of crap for a junk Amazon spinner, because this is nice. So 46 bucks, definitely worth picking one up. So cool. That's about it, guys. Hobby Timmy out. Kisses, y'all.